When you're evaluating defensive tape, the Navy offense is so different than other usual offenses. How do you evaluate a tape like that where it's a triple option that you may not ever see for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, you look at the things that translate, like tackling and block the feet and angles and effort, things like that. But you try and move on very quickly from the scheme. But the things I mentioned, that you need to have effort and technique and tackling in every game. So those are the things you evaluate.
What do you think went wrong with the tackling in the first half?
Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, I'll say, particularly on the fullbacks early, we tackled too high. Those are guys, which is disappointing because that was probably point of emphasis number one. Getting ready for that game is you've got to tackle those guys low, and understand it's not about us being low. It's about being low on them. You need to tackle through their thigh boards. And although we were low, we were making contact on them high on their body because they were also low. And that was disappointing. I think we got marginally better as we went on, but certainly not our best outing of tackling.
What do you do to improve that? You just drill that technique and practice to make sure it doesn't happen?
Yeah, I mean, we spent a lot of today's our live day. We're in full pads, so we live tackled as much as we could today. Yeah, I mean, you work tackling every single day. I mean, you can't always tackle the ground because you don't always have full pads on, but it's if you go back to playing football when you're 6 years old, if you play defense, your job is to tackle. So it doesn't change.
When you watch Missouri, just what do you see in there?
They got a lot of really good players. The defensive coordinator at Middle Tennessee is a good friend of mine, and they played him, and they also played Alabama in the year that. So his take was that offensive line at Missouri was better than Alabama's offense, and that's certainly saying something. I think the quarterback is dynamite, big, physical, really fast, big arm. He makes all the throws, as they say. And two really good tailbacks, two really big tight ends that catch the ball. One guy made a great catch on the sideline last week. And probably the best group they have are their receivers. So great challenge for us. We wouldn't have it any other way.
As difficult as it might be game planning on a short week, coming out of that short week, do you feel like you have an extra day or so of game planning for the next game?
Yeah, you probably have a little bit more time. The tough thing for us is, the short week last week was tough, but, when you're preparing for Navy, you get away from playing your base defense and from playing your base techniques. We are a week removed from that. So although we got to get back into our more traditional schemes, we got to get back into everything we do traditionally. That's why, Navy's just such a tough opponent to prepare for and play.
Is there something to having to, I'm sure you would look at the tape from the first two games and you found some things wrong, even though you didn't let anyone in the end zone, but is there something to having some adversity in that game and having to kind of recover for this defense?
Yeah, I think so. We knew we weren't going to go the whole season without letting up a touchdown. We certainly didn't execute the way we wanted to, in particularly in the first half. But defense won the game in the fourth quarter. I think if you watch the game, you see that, right? I mean, I think that was pretty obvious. So we're very pleased with the way we played down the stretch. We knuckled up when we had to knuckle up. We had a couple key fourth down stops there, and one of them won us the game. And those are the things you build on to get down the stretch. And I think we've given up, I believe, 27 points now through 3 games. I'm just never great at math, but that's 9 points a game. That's 4 points better than the number 1 defense in the country last year. So we'd like to think we're still playing pretty good defense.
Their last drive of the game, when they get the ball back, they got to score a touchdown. You basically just tell your defense coming out, then don't break, they can go as far as possible.
Yeah, it was sort of fitting we give our defense a theme each week. And without giving you too much, our theme last week was the wrench, which goes back to a great movie called Good Will Hunting. And the wrench just means we want the worst possible option. You could play with 12, you could play with 14. You could have the ball on the 1 yard line every time. It's just a mentality. It was cool to see the players when we got out there on that last drive. They're all yelling the wrench, So it was fitting for that game. But they responded well. Swing away. Swing away.
In key moments like that, when you got players yelling the wrench, what does that say about the buy-in that they've had and just the focus they've had all week to just apply that in that way in real time?
Yeah, I think that speaks to our leadership. I think, you know, our position coaches have done a great job identifying the leaders in their room and empowering them. And I give our position coaches a lot of credit for that. But I think that's when you have guys like Jalen Allen and Cormonte Hamilton and Jeff Canton and Simeon Blair. You know, when you have guys like that that have a hold of your defense, you know, you're probably going to have pretty good culture.
Do you relish opportunities like this to go against the team that's just knocked off the number 15 team in the country, like just
Yeah.
the challenge of it? And
It's a great challenge. I mean, that's, you know, everybody in this business is a competitor. You get weeded out pretty quickly if you're not. So they're competitors. They're itching to play this game too, but certainly we are, and we look forward to a great challenge. We know how good they are, and they're as talented as they are. They're extremely well coached, and they do a great job. So it'll be a great challenge.
how do you the receiver, the top receiver,
Luther Burden.
Yeah, Luther. How do you approach that? You guys haven't, I don't think, faced at least this year a receiver of that caliber.
No, he's really good. That's putting it lightly. I've been very fortunate to be around some great ones, and he's as good as any of those I've been around. The guy we talked to at another school that played him, they said he was quote-unquote fearless, and I would agree. You know, he plays every play like he's a punt returner, and you got to be a fearless guy to be a punt returner. You know, we know he's going to have catches. We know they're going to throw him screens, and they're going to find a way to get the ball in his hands. You know, we'd be crazy to think we're going to shut him down. We're not. But we're going to have to, you know, try and limit his big plays, and when he catches the ball, and whatever route it may be, we got to tackle him.
Does someone get that primary responsibility, or does he move around and it's just whoever's lined up?
A little bit of both. You know, it's you know, you can't. We would be getting way away from our base defense to track him everywhere he goes. But there's some calls where we may have a guy we feel like matches up better. But that's no different than any week. You know, you're always, if you got a tall corner and they got a tall wide out, you're trying to put tall on tall and quick on quick, and so that's no different this week.